Back in the 1930s, the archaeologist Louis Leakey discovered what is now known to be the first stone tools. These were found in the Old Devi Gorge in Tanzania and are now known as Oldowan tools, and many date back to 2.6 million years ago. They were simple tools, basically sharp pieces of stone that were chipped off of larger stones and were used to cut meat off of bones. They may also have been used to help cut tough plants or roots. Now, they've always been attributed to Homo habilis, and although crude, the use of tools opened the door for everything that was later to come for the genus Homo as it walked along the banks of the Hominin River. But, and there's always a but, what if another pair of hands, unlike our own, made some of those tools? In 2017, on a stormy day in Kenya, a tooth was found. Where it was found changes everything.
There is grandeur in this view of life.
Welcome to Evolution Talk with Rick Coast, an introduction to the oldest story ever told.
Archaeologist Thomas Plummer had heard about stone tools being found on the hillsides of the Homa Peninsula in Kenya. Hoping to learn more, he began to excavate. Now, what his team found were fossils, many of them. They were fossils of crocodiles, antelopes, horses, and hippos. And along with those fossils were stone tools. What Plummer's team had found was, in essence, a butchering site. Another member of the team, paleoanthropologist Emma Finestone, worked beneath the stormy skies to record as many of the remains as possible. When the fossilized bones of a butchered hippo were lifted out of the ground, she spotted something. It lay there amongst the splintered chips of cutting tools. It was a molar. No, this wasn't the molar of a butchered animal. It was the tooth of a hominin. Another tooth was found as well. Now, what made this find exciting was the species these teeth belonged to. It wasn't Homo habilis, as they might have expected given the age of the site and the presence of the Oldowan tools. It was another hominin known as Paranthropus. And these tools are 2.8 million years old. Try to wrap your mind around that. Almost 3 million years ago, a pair of hands made these tools and used them to clean the meat off a hippo. The bones and the tools lay hidden beneath the ground all this time until another pair of hands found them. Hands not unlike the tool's original owner. The thing is, this wasn't the first time a set of tools had been found that may have been made or at least used by Paranthropus. In 1955, the Leakeys, Lewis and Mary, found a 1.8 million year old Paranthropus skull in a layer of sediment that Oldowan tools were found. Also in that layer was the skull of a Homo habilis specimen, another extinct species of Homo that I mentioned a moment ago, and perhaps the common ancestor of all Homo species that travel along the Hominin River. We'll meet Homo habilis, otherwise known as the handyman, in another episode. Just know for now that the idea of Paranthropus making the tools was pushed aside and instead handed to our ancestor Homo habilis. I guess we can see who the favored grandparent a million times over was. But getting back to Paranthropus, we know of 3 different Paranthropus species. Paranthropus boise, named after Charles Boise, who sponsored the Leakey's expeditions, or some of them. Paranthropus robustus, because it was robust. And Paranthropus ethiopicus, named after where it was found in Ethiopia. The name Paranthropus itself means near man. They are all known for their large, very strong jaws and large molars, one of which Thomas Plummer's team found were those Oldowan tools. Those molars were tough. Of the 3 Paranthropus species, we know the least about Paranthropus ethiopicus. Now, that's simply because all we have is a skull known as the Black Skull. Pretty cool name. It was found in 1985 by paleoanthropologists Alan Walker and Richard Leakey. The skull was black because of the minerals that stained it over the 2.5 million years that it lay buried. And it has a very prominent sagittal crest. That's a Paranthropus trademark, mainly with the males. The sagittal crest is the line of bone that runs across the top of the skull to support the strong jaw muscles that were used to chew tough foods such as nuts, roots, and tubers. Now, the story of Paranthropus, at least the story of its fossilized remains, begins in 1938 with the discovery of bits of jaw and teeth by a South African schoolboy. Now, the boy, after he found this amazing little find, brought the pieces to paleontologist Robert Broom, who recognized it as belonging, or recognized them as belonging to a new species. Now, because of its large jaws and teeth, he called it Paranthropus robustus. In 1959, Mary Leakey found another specimen, a skull, in the Old Devi Gorge. Now, because the skull had features of both Broom's Paranthropus and Raymond Dart's Australopithecus, which was discussed in the last episode, Richard Leakey was opposed to classifying it as either Australopithecus or Paranthropus robustus. So he gave it a new name and genus. He went with Zinjanthropus boise, the Zinj in the name being an old term for East Africa. Zinjanthropus didn't stick, and the find was later renamed Paranthropus boise. And because of its strong nut-cracking jaws, it was given the nickname Nutcracker Man. Now, because of the skulls and skull fragments found, the Paranthropus brain size is thought to have been between 450 to 550 cubic centimeters. It had a prominent brow ridge and large cheekbones that flared out. I've already mentioned the large jaws and the male's sagittal crest, and all in all, it was, to use Broom's term, a very robust species. And it wasn't only their skulls which gave them the name robustus. They also boasted strong arms and hands. Studies of Paranthropus hand bones have suggested they may have been very well equipped to manage small tools and the creation of those tools. And if Paranthropus are the creators of the Oldowan tools found at the butchering site in 2017, there's a deeper meaning here. I wonder if you might have caught it given the age of the tools and what I've been attributing the creation of those tools to. It would mean that humans, the Homo species, were not the first to make use of stone tools, because Paranthropus is not part of the Homo genus. It might not even be its own genus. That's right. I didn't make a mistake and forget to edit that out. It could very well be that what we call Paranthropus boise, robustus, and aethiopicus are not Paranthropus at all, because Paranthropus as a separate species of early hominin might not be separate at all. They could be Australopithecine. Now remember Lucy? Her family may have been larger than we thought. Depending on the journal, article, or even book that you read that references robustus and its kin, you may see them referred to as Australopithecus boise, robustus, and aethiopicus. Actually, I should say them in the order or the proper order when they existed, with the mysterious aethiopicus of the Black Skull fame being first, boise second, and robustus the most recent from 1.8 to 1.2 million years ago. So, if Paranthropus is in fact a subgroup of Australopithecine, it might be more appropriate to call them robust Australopithecine to distinguish them from the rest of the Australopithecine. Hopefully that's not confusing. I do wonder, though, what Lucy would have thought about all of this.
If you're brave enough and set out on a truth-seeking journey, either externally or internally, and if you are prepared, then the truth will not be withheld from you.
I have no doubt about that. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Evolution Talk. I'm Rick Coast, and if you find value in this show, and I really do hope that you do find value in it, please consider supporting it at evolutiontalk.com. Now, this show does need your help, and I still have a lot of plans for it, but I can only do so with your assistance. Share the show with your friends. And at evolutiontalk.com, you'll find more information, you'll find recommended books, and also ways to connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope your week is going well, and until next time, please take care of yourself.
Evolution Talk is a Rick Coast production.